Today we are going to talk about factoring trinomials. What's a trinomial? Three. What's an equation? An equation has what in it? An equal sign. So we're not going to be talking about something with an equal sign. So it has three things. What are those things? Come up with a better math word there. Not three variables, nope. Three what? I might have heard it. Starts with a T. Three terms. It has three terms, right? So terms, remember, are things that are being added and subtracted from each other. So we have three terms to it. So we're talking about factoring three terms today, and those three terms have to fit a very specific setup. Okay, the very specific setup needs to be a quadratic. Oh, what's a quadratic? Do you remember that word from last trimester? Do you remember seeing?
Is it more than, wait, quadratic of four terms?
Nope. A quad would lead us to believe four, but that's not what this is.
Isn't that like something you're all adding up to equal one?
Okay, so you're in the right category. We're talking about a degree, right, where we added up the exponents of each term. It has to have a degree of 2, that's quadratic. So it's going to be in the form ax squared, right? This was our weird one. It was an exponent of 2, a degree of 2, but we call it a quadratic. Okay, plus bx plus c. So that's the form we're going to have to be in today to be able to factor it as a trinomial. So maybe we have something that says 2x squared plus 9x plus 7. So 1, 2, 3 terms, and we're in the correct form. So we can factor this as a trinomial. Now here's the catch. We can't actually factor things with 3 terms. We can't do it. So what we're gonna do is use some very specific steps that are gonna help us rewrite this into 4 terms. And 4 terms we know how to factor because that's our factoring by grouping. Okay, to rewrite this into 4 terms, we're going to have to pick 2 special numbers that add up to that middle piece. Okay, it doesn't require hard math. It's very obnoxious and tedious at points. So you have to be patient. I'm picking an easy one to start with, but sometimes it's really annoying. You have to be a little bit patient to get your entire list and find the right pair. So here's what we're going to do. Step 1. We are going to multiply A times C. So if we look up here and we do our form, right? Ax squared, our 2 is sitting in the A position, plus bx, our 9 is our b, plus c, which is our 7. So if we want to multiply A times C, we're going to multiply 2 times 7 and get what? 14. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no awards for doing more math in your head. If you need a calculator, just use a calculator. Okay, let your brain just focus on the factoring piece and not all the other stuff. Step 2. We are then going to list all the multiples of it. What does the word multiples mean? I mean, we can have, like, you know, multiple babies in a birth and you have more than one, but this is a math term. In the math term, what does multiples mean? Sam, you know?
Is it like what times what can equal something?
Yep, so we want two numbers multiplied together that will give us 14. Here is the tedious part. I mean, 14 is a simple number, so that's not too tricky. But when this number ends up being something like 280, which we're going to start seeing here in a little bit, we need to be very careful with our list. We don't want to just try 7 and then try 12 and then try 8. We want to go in a process. So we're going to list them all in order. So 1 times what gives me 14? 14. Again, just use your calculator if you need to. Obviously, 1 is a simple one, right? But you could put in 14 divided by 1 equals. And then do 2. 14 divided by 2 equals. And what do we get?
7.
Right? Right, don't multiply it, right? 14 times 7, or reset brain. 2 times 7 gives us 14. Okay, then we'll do 3. 3 times what gives us 14? Nothing. Right? If you put it in your calculator, you'll get a big old messy decimal. 4 times what gives us 14? Nothing. 5 times what gives us 14? Nothing. 6 times what gives us 14? Nothing. You're like, Mrs. McKinney, you're crazy. Why are you still listing? Okay, here's why. You will know that you are done with your list when the next number, so 7 would be the next number, when the next number is in the other row. Okay, now some of you might go, I know I'm done because it's 14. But again, when it's 280, you need to make sure you get the entire list. Okay. So we can still do this with a calculator. Pretty straightforward, right? Step 3. We are going to find the pair that adds up to B. So the fancy math word there would be that we're going to find the sum, right? Sum tells us that it adds up to it. So now we're going to go back to this same list and we're going to start adding them. So we'll say 1 plus 14 equals 15. But Ken, if you need to use your calculator to just make your life simple, just use your calculator. I don't care. 2 plus 7 equals 9. And we want to pick the one that will add up to B. So do we agree right here? Right? It's giving us the same number as that one in the middle. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
We all know that 2 times 7 is 14 and that's the answer. Like the thing, couldn't we just realize that like it is 2? Like,
Yes. The answer to that question is yes, but just give me the rest of this period because that's not as simple as you always think it is on these problems. Okay, so yes, obviously if you start listing and you go, oh, I already got to my pair, that's the one I need, you don't need to keep making a page-long list. But it's not that simple when negatives come into play. Okay? So once you've picked your correct pair here, this is what everything else is based on. If you can factor by grouping and you can find this correct pair. Okay, step 4 to rewrite into 4 terms. I'm rewriting because I flipped the page so you could see the original part. So when we rewrite this into 4 terms, we're going to take that middle piece. We're taking this piece right here in the middle, and we're going to split it into 2 new numbers. And the 2 new numbers that we are splitting it into are the 2 numbers that we picked over here. So we picked a positive 2 and a positive 7. So we picked a positive 2 and a positive 7. Okay, so what is 2 plus 7? 9, but we don't want it to add up to 9. We want it to add up to 9x. So we're going to throw an x on both of those two. Okay, and then the stuff in the front is just going to come straight down. And the stuff at the end is just going to come straight down. And now when we look at it, this should look very familiar because now we have 4 terms, and 4 terms we know that we can factor by grouping. Okay, so we split it in half. One goes into 2, that also goes into 2. 2, do they both have the variable? Right, we've been doing this really well. I was super happy when I went through and I checked your homework this weekend. It all looked great. What goes into 7? That will also go into 7. 7. They do not both have the variable, so no pulling out a variable there. And then our same grouping rules, right? We're going to take our 2 GCFs and put those together. How important is it that these match? Very important. Are you cold, Sam? Oh. So you want to be more sweaty? You're the one who's always like, it's so hot in here. So 2x plus 7 and an x plus 1. Common sorted maybe? Okay, so let's look at one without all the notes in between and see how we do. Squared minus 14x plus 15. Okay, step 1, what do we do first? A times C. So 3 times 15 is 45. Then we'll start listing, right? So we're going to divide it and find all of its options. Let's see, 1 times 45, 2 times, can't always have my brain, 2 times, nothing, 3 times 15, 4 times, nothing, 5 times 9. 6 times nothing. 7 times nothing. 8 times nothing. So I'm done because my next number would be 9. Okay, what do we need these to add up to? A little bit more specific than 14. What do we? Negative 14. Excellent, Tyler. So negative 14. Are positive numbers ever going to add up to a negative? Ooh, that's a dilemma. So we're done? Can't do anything? No? Any thoughts on what we could maybe do?
I have an idea.
What do you think, Tyler?
How about we put negatives on both 5 and 9?
How about we put negatives on both of them? I love this idea. This sounds great. Because what is a negative times a negative? Positive 45. And what is a negative plus a negative? A negative 14. Okay, so I'm going to make you a little, if you're like, I would not have thought about that. I'm going to make you a little cheat sheet over here. Oh, I should have told you this before. We have a quiz on Friday. You can use your notes for the quiz on Friday, which means you could use this cheat sheet on the quiz on Friday. I just put the same one down. Bless you.
Thank you.
Copy that down. What I wrote in black. Yeah, but I just said it's a cheat sheet that you can use on the quiz.
So, so do you multiply this?
Okay, so to get this, I'm doing 1 times 45 is 45. This one. Okay, and negative 1 plus negative 45 is negative 46.